responses in the chat box. And Ms. Monique may want to further address your questions or further communicate you about your responses. And she may ask you to unmute yourself. And if that happens, please do so. Okay, so before we start, I would like to know more about our audience here, actually. So I'm going to ask you a few questions.
Hi, everyone. It looks like Ms. Anis has dropped out for a moment. So perhaps we'll just continue asking the questions. Let's have a look. Is she back yet?
Okay,
right.
I'm back.
Oh, you're back. Good.
I'm sorry, there seems to be a little technical problems. That's fine. That's what happens with technology. Sometimes technical problems happens. Okay, so we would like to know more about the audience here, our audience here, so that we can address your issues more effectively. So I will ask you a questions, and please answer the questions. You can prepare to write the answers of the questions, but please send the answer only after I say waterfall. This is a waterfall activity. So I'll give you questions, prepare your answer, and send the answer in the chat box after I say waterfall. So are you ready? Okay, I guess everyone here is ready. All right, so the first questions. Where do you plan to study? In Indonesia or in other countries? You can also mention the country. So our first question here is to ask where you plan to study, in Indonesia or in other countries. And you can also mention the country. So please send us your answer in 3, 2, 1, waterfall. Okay, I've got one response here. Someone wants to study in Seoul, Korea. Great. Okay, excellent. All right, so many answers. Oh, seems like many of you wants to study abroad. In Japan, in London, in Indonesia is also one of the options. South Korea, Russia, Tokyo, Japan, of course. Oh, Czech. Oh, how do you pronounce it? Probably Monique can help us pronouncing the country.
Unfortunately, it's not in English. Maybe Czechia, is that the same as Czech Republic? I'm obviously not a geography teacher.
Okay, so some of you
are very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Indonesia or Japan, other country, German, Australia, Finland. Okay, it's various countries. So yeah, we can see that many of you are interested in studying abroad. Very good. And the next question is, oh yeah, Singapore, that's great. The next question is, for those who plan to study abroad, do you know what IELTS band or score do you require to get? If you do, please let us know what's the band, what's the score, for example, 6.5 or 7 or 7.5. Please let us know. But if you do not know, you can just simply say no, or I don't know, in 3, 2, 1, waterfall. Okay, some of you have given the answer, 7.0, 6.5. Okay, great. Okay, so it seems like some of our audience here has, oh, I don't know much about IELTS yet. Okay, so that's why we are going to learn about IELTS today. So without further ado, I'm going to give the floor to Miss Monique to give us some information and tips about IELTS. So Miss Monique, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Miss Anis. Can you hear me okay? Is it clear enough?
Yes, Miss, we can hear you very clearly.
Okay, great. All right. Well, thank you for that really lovely introduction. And it's great to see all of your responses. A lot of you are going to study abroad, and perhaps you've already thought about IELTS, or perhaps you've thought about other kinds of exams and you don't really know much about IELTS. So that's what we're doing today, is we're going to look at what is IELTS, give you some roundabout information, and then we'll look at a couple of some comparisons with TOEFL. Why TOEFL? Because I guess if I ask the question, which academic preparation exams that are the most popular in Indonesia, I think TOEFL would be one of them, right? And you probably know a bit about TOEFL, but a lot of you maybe don't know that much about IELTS. So that's why we're doing the IELTS seminar today. But I will compare TOEFL and IELTS. So you can look and see, is IELTS the one for me, or is it TOEFL? So let's have a look at a comparison. We're also going to look at some resources if we have time. If not, I will simply give you the links to the resources and tell you a bit about where you can find them. And then towards the end, we'll have a sharing session with two of our students who have actually done the exam. So, Ms. Anis made me sound like an expert, but I'm actually not an expert. I've never taken the exam officially, right? Because I'm a native speaker. So anyone that has taken the exam is probably more of an expert than me. And that's why I invited students to come along and share their experiences, because they know what it's like. After that, we'll have a Q&A. So if you'd like to ask any questions, you can put them in the chat box, or you can ask directly later on. All right, so let's get started. We started a little bit late and it's already 15:15, so we've got lots of things to discuss and have a look at. So firstly, what is IELTS? I'm just going to show you the slide. So basically, the IELTS is the International English Language Testing System, and it is a test that is popular right around the world now. Why is it important? Well, English is the third most spoken language around the world. And so many of you, as we saw, and many other students around Indonesia, are going to study in English, whether it be overseas or in Indonesia. So right now, many of you are in high school still. Some of you are still in grade 10, others are already in grade 12. But this is the perfect time to start thinking about which university would I like to go and study in, or perhaps I'd like to work first, or maybe even travel and have a year off. This is quite popular. So in every case, wherever you go around the world, often one of the languages that people speak is English. So there's over 379 million people, roughly, that speak English around the world. So it is a very popular language. So having said that, and the possibility that you're going to study, what should we study? So as I mentioned before, there's IELTS and TOEFL. This is the Ielts test, and it's, sorry, all these people entering in the waiting room. It's very noisy. Hang on a sec. Let me see if I can turn the sound off. Okay, so there are 3 institutions that have provided the test in Indonesia and around the world, and that's the British Institute, IDP, and Cambridge Assessment English. They've created the test, and they also administer the test in countries all around the world. The modules are listening, reading, writing, and speaking, so very similar to the IBT or the TOEFL. And you need it in countries all around the world, especially the British Commonwealth countries. So in in Britain, in Australia, in New Zealand, Canada, they are the main countries that use Ielts, but nowadays Ielts is accepted all around the world. So it's recognized by over 11,000 employers, universities, schools, and immigration bodies globally, including 3,400 institutions in the USA. So most people think, oh, I'm going to study in USA or in Asia, so I'm going to do TOEFL. And that may well be fine for you. But let's look at whether Ielts might be better, because most universities nowadays accept both test results. Okay, so let's have a look more closely at the comparison between them. So firstly, if you want to go abroad to study, or in Indonesia to study, the first thing you need to do is work out which Ielts do I need to take and what band score should I aim for. We can see here that you can take an academic version or a general version, UKVI, which is United Kingdom Visa and Immigrations Board, and Life Skills A1, A2, B1. You're going to most likely take the academic, okay? And that's the one that you need to study abroad. General is for migration purposes, and so are the other two. So if you're going to study abroad, you'll have to take the academic version, all right? Now, what should your gold band score be? Looking at the chat, let's see. There wasn't a lot of response for that one. There was lots of people that responded to what country they want to go to. So you know what you'd like to do. But when it comes to knowing whether your university has a limit, or the study that you're going to do has a limit, or perhaps it's the study visa that has a limit, you're going to have to do some research. So a lot of you said you've got to get around 7, 6.5, and that's the average for most countries to get in. For migration, it's around 5, 5.5. So if you wanted to migrate to Australia, you would need around a 5.5. But to study or to get the study visa, it's a little higher. Okay, so you're going to have to do some research by checking out the university that you want to study at. Okay, and every university is different. They have different standards. So it's specific to the university. And then the second thing that might be different is the degree. Some degrees require lower band scores than others. So what do you want to study? Where do you want to study? And what kind of band score do you need for the visa? Okay, so they're the 3 things that you need to research. I'm not sure if this is going to work because I haven't tried to open a link yet. I'm just going to open one link for you on European band scores. Let's see if this works. Okay, so this is just one site. If you research by clicking in the keywords Ielts band score requirement for universities in whatever country you want, you'll find that. Here's some for Europe. So the United Kingdom, Oxford, Cambridge, London, 6.5. That's the minimum to study there. Some degrees might want more, okay? Finland, France, it's average of 6.5. Some universities a little lower, but you can get an idea there. You can do this for any kind of university or country. Look up Ielts band score admissions requirements, and you will find those band scores. Okay, I'm going to go back, if I can, to the presentation. Let's see. Here we go. All right, so now once you've researched where you want to study and which university you're going to go to, which country, which university, and which degree, you'll have your goal band score. Now, the second thing you need to do is decide, is IELTS right for me? Perhaps it's TOEFL. Perhaps TOEFL's the better one. How do we know? Let's have a look. Just going to move to the next slide. All right, so here's a bit of a comparison. And you'll see that there are some differences, and those things might affect which one you choose. Okay, we're going to hear one of our students actually did both the tests. So if you'd like to ask him more questions, he can answer those questions a bit later. But you can see that TOEFL is longer and it's one sitting, while IELTS is shorter and it's 2 sittings. So you can do your reading, listening, and writing in one sitting, and then afterwards, either a little later or on a different day, you can do the speaking section. All right. Band scores, well, we don't need to look at the score ranges right now. That's already discussed. The skills studied are exactly the same. There is an age limit for IELTS above 16 years old. Okay, so that's the main focus here. So one thing that you would look at here is the time. Are you able to concentrate for long lengths of time? If not, then IELTS might be the one for you because it's split. The other thing that's important for IELTS and TOEFL is looking at the types of questions. All right, I'm quickly running out of time here, so let's move to the next slide. Okay, so here we see that the TOEFL is multiple choice, while the IELTS has written answers or typed answers with 1 or 2 words and some multiple choice. But you have to be able to type or write the answers in, not just tick a box. So that's a big difference. They both come, TOEFL is now only computer-based, IBT, but IELTS, you have an option, paper or computer-based. If you have good handwriting and you prefer not to type or look at a screen, then you can choose the paper-based version. The questions are derived from academic passages, advertisements, newspapers, articles, journals, and reading sections. They're for general interest. They're not too academic, yeah? Whereas for TOEFL, they have a lot more challenging concepts, I find, and you've got to be able to synthesize. You've got to be able to read something, listen to something, and then write about it or speak about it. And a lot of people have trouble in that section. So if that's something that would be difficult for you, for making summaries between 2 different genres, then I would suggest going for the IELTS. Okay, so if you can't concentrate for long periods of time, IELTS is the better one. If you want to go face-to-face with someone and speak to them rather than be on a computer for the speaking section, then go for IELTS, because IELTS is with an examiner face-to-face live. So even if you do the computer-based test, you'll still speak to a person in the speaking section. Okay. All right, so there's some differences between TOEFL and IELTS. Let's move to the next slide. So what is IELTS? What does the test look like? So you've got 4 sections. Listening is 40 questions. You have 4 audio. The time is 30 minutes for 40 questions, and you only get to listen once. If you do the paper-based test, you have 10 minutes to transfer the answers that you did on the paper over to an answer sheet. However, if you do the computer-based, you don't get that 10 extra minutes, and you have to go straight onto the computer, type it into the computer. The reading, 40 questions, 3 texts, 60 minutes. The writing is 2 questions. The first one is a report, and that's weighted at about 40%, while the essay, which could be an argument-led essay or an opinion-led essay, that is weighted at around 60%. So you might want to divide your time like that as well. The report comes in different forms, and I'm going to show you some of those forms in a minute. And then the speaking the final one, is 3 parts. Part 1 is just general questions to get you comfortable and talking about yourself. The second one, you'll get a card where you have to cover all the material on that card. And then the third one is more academic kind of questions. So it's, I guess, what you did in the essay, you could expect those kind of questions, comparing, giving your opinion, agree or disagree, and then analyzing and so on. It is face-to-face, whether you take the computer-based or the paper-based. So you will be talking to a native speaker at that time. All right, that's a very, very quick look at what is the IELTS test. Now, I'm going to click on where you can find out more about it. So all of this is online and it's really easy to find, yeah? You just have to go to some of the sites that I've shared, that I will share with you. This is one of them, ielts.org. IDP also has a really good website, and here you can find all the information that you need. So for the test format, everything is written here. That's why I'm going through this very fast, because you can find out the information yourself. So let me just put this in the chat. Just a moment. If you'd like to play around and see what this test is all about, everything you need is here. This is the one site where you can find out about the tests, get resources, do practice tests, and get information on how the marking is done. You can find descriptors, which are sheets of paper that tell you how do they come to grade you, how do they analyze your English. And it's very, very well set out and quite easy to understand. So I think IELTS is a lot about practice testing and analyzing, okay? And this site is perfect for that. Let's have a look. So okay. So listening, you've got all the formats there. It gives you some examples of what kind of listening there are, lots of descriptions of what kind they are, and what kind of questions. So you can see it's not just multiple choice. Here we have matching, plan, map, diagram, labeling. Okay, so what does that look like? We'll have a look in just a moment. Form, note, table, flowchart, summary completion, sentence completion. There's so many. Okay, so you really need to spend time for IELTS, spend time looking at the test, looking at the different options you might get, and then practice, practice, practice. Okay, reading, similar. There's a variety of question types, multiple choices there, of course. Identifying information, identifying writers' views and claims, matching information, matching headings, paragraph headings, matching features, sentence endings, and so on. Okay, we can't go through all of them because there's too many. But it's very, very relevant to what you do at school right now if you're at an English-speaking school. If you study science, if you study English, then the things that you're already doing in class, those things are going to be part of this test, yeah? The skills that you use for reading, skimming and scanning, analyzing sentences, and so on, are all part of improving your English, and doing all the general work that you do at school are all going to help you with these. All right. So anyway, I can't go through all of them because we're running out of time. Sorry. When you go through here, don't forget to pick academic. Don't choose general, because general is for migration. Okay, so you're looking at academic. So for the writing, there are 2 tasks. Sorry. Okay, academic writing, here we go. So the task 1 is a report, and that's kind of something that you would do when you are doing a science report. You look at the information on a graph, a chart, or maybe several that you have to compare. It could be a flow chart. It could be a process. It could be a diagram, and you have to describe the diagram and how things change. There's lots of possibilities. But with the report, you just write what you see. You do not add your opinion at all. Well, the second one is where you add your opinion or your preference, or whether you agree or not on something. Okay, so it's like a general essay that you might do in your English EASE. If you're doing the EASE essay in grade 11, it's probably similar to that. Okay, I'm doing so far. Not coughing too much. Well done. All right, so anyway, here you can find out the test format. You can also find out many other things, and I'll go through them in a moment. Let's go back to the slides. By the way, if anyone has questions, please ask, and please don't hesitate to put your hand up, and maybe Miss Anis could tell me if anybody wants to ask a question or on something I'm saying right now, because I cannot see your chat. Okay, can you see this second one? This is IDP. Just wanted to show you that IDP also has the similar website. You can go to IDP, and each of the test skills, writing, reading, speaking, you can see it has preparation here for academic preparation. So you just go to Ielts, click prepare, and you can find all the information there. Okay, over here you can see exam resources, practice tests, and so on. Okay, let's go back to this. There's the link for IDP in the chat. Okay, so now we know all about what is the test, what does the test look like. If I can, I'm going to share just an example before we get to the tips. Can you see that, Ms. Anis? I've just changed links. Can you see the practice test here?
Oh, we are now seeing your slides about IELTS preparation.
Okay, so it's not showing the practice test. Let me see if I can copy this. No, I can't. Okay. All right, well, so sorry. I'm not sure how I can get to show you the practice test then. All right. All right. If you'd like to do a practice test, click on one of those two links and you will find a practice test and an example there. I can't get the practice test up that I had planned to show you. So please have a look by yourself. But number one is prepare for IELTS. Okay, we've got 23 minutes left, so I'm going to go through this very quickly. What should you do to prepare for IELTS? Well, you really have to take time to study. Okay, it's going to take you, let's say, 3 to 6 months to get you up to the ideal band score. Now, what's a band score? A band score is a number from 0 till 9 that the examiner will give you for each part of the test. So the speaking, listening, reading, and writing, each has a band score. And then on top of that, you'll get an overall band score. So when you go to university, it will say overall band score of this, let's say 7, minimum band score of 6.5 for any one skill. Okay, so you may only get 6.5, but you need a 7. So how much time do you need to study? Well, on average, for a student, if you're still studying or if you're working, you'll need about 3 to 6 months after you've done your first practice test and you've learned about what is this test and what it's all about. Then you have to start honing your skills. Okay. Now, once you're at the honing your skills, you've analyzed the results and you're starting to do self-study. it's going to take about 3 to 6 months to get up to 1 to 2 band scores higher than the one that you got in your practice test. Okay. But if you went into the practice test knowing nothing and you just did it really fast and you didn't spend much time on it, you could probably improve your practice test in a week if you know the skills that you're lacking and focus on those. Okay, so it could be just a matter of you didn't spell the words properly, or you wrote more than the word requirement. There's some really small errors that people make that affect your score. Okay, so it's quite easy to go up 1 or 2 at the beginning, but then after that, you need to spend time practicing and studying. Okay, so my advice is first, check out what's your current score if you just did a quick test. Yeah, and to do that, you can just simply go to the British Council English Score app. Let me put that in the chat. Okay, so this is a great little app that tells you your score across the band. So it will give you a Cambridge score. Are you an A2, a B1, B2, C, and so on? But it'll also give you an Ielts score. It's only an idea of what you could be. It's not the real test because it's only 40 questions, whereas the Ielts test is quite intensive, and it doesn't factor in whether you are able to concentrate, whether you can read fast, and things like that, whether you are a good listener. So there's lots of factors that don't show up on this English score test, but it does give you a basic Ielts score. Now, from that, you can think about, okay, I need to do a practice test in real conditions. And that's where you'll get your real test score, well, as close to real as possible. So you've got the practice tests on those 2 websites that I sent you. You can also find books and lots of resources online. I really want to show you what a practice test looks like. So let me see if I can. Oh, we've got 20 minutes left. It's not much time. Okay, I had a practice test open, but I can't show it because it's on a different link. So let me see if I can find one here. Oh, it's on the IDP. Just a second. All right. I don't know why it's not sharing when I guess it's not in the right.
Monique, maybe you can what is that? You can share your screen again.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Choose that file that you want to.
Okay, thank you. That would be a good help. Let me just try that. Sorry. All right, so this is a copy of the practice test, and any of the grade 11s that are here today will already know this test because they've done it in the Ielts prep class with us. So gives you an idea of what a test looks like. Filling in the gaps. This is the listening section. Circle the letter. Multiple choice. Now, this one's quite interesting. This is not something that you're probably used to. So it's labeling. You have to listen to the description of a place, and then they're going to tell you about where things are in this place. This is a university. You can already see Hall of Residence, car park, refectory, and so on. And then you need to work out what these places are. Notice that this is paper. So you would have this printed out and you would write on it with pen or pencil. So you need to make sure that you answer the questions really carefully. Yeah. You can see here, more information about the student facilities at that university, but now it's changed. Now it's a gap fill. Notice this, no more than 3 words or a number. Generally, it'll be 2 words now, but it might still have 3 words. So you have to read it very carefully and answer very carefully. Okay, so you answer on the paper, but then you transfer it from the answer sheet after the listening has finished. The great thing about Ielts is that you can look at the paper while you're listening, and you can pre-plan what you're going to write. So you've got a few minutes at the beginning to look through and maybe guess what it might be, which is a great tip, is looking at the topic, looking at the sections, and then being ready for that information, okay, and what's coming next. It's usually done in the order of which it's spoken, so you can be ready for the next one. One other thing that you have to be careful is, notice this is 21, 22, 23, and it goes to 24 and 25. Be careful of the order. Some people put it in the wrong order, and then you've got, straight away, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wrong because it's written in the wrong place. Same with over here. Notice the numbers, 11, 12, 13, and then it goes up to 14 over here. You have to spend time looking carefully at the instructions before you answer. Okay, so that's one of my tips there. Okay, flicking through more, no more than 3 words or a number, multiple choice. So it's very, very varied. Okay, and here we have table. Now, reading. You've got 3 long texts like this, and then you've got different question types again. Okay. All right, this is paragraphs. Yes, no, not given, or true, false, does not say are also part of it. You might be asked to match the person from the text to a bit of information. Here we go, true, false, not given. And now we come to the writing. So task 1, this one has a chart and only one chart, so it's quite easy. You have to describe the chart. You might get a flow chart, or you might get a graph, or you might get several that you have to compare and contrast. And then finally, just a question for the essay, okay? At least 250 words. And speaking. So you've got section 1. These are just examples of questions you might get asked. There are 2 different topics that the examiner could ask you, but this section is mainly to get you relaxed and just talking about things that you know. Then you get a card, something like this, quite easy. Describe your favorite film or television. You should say this, this, this. And then finally, a more academic topic, okay? The speaking test is around 12 to 14 minutes. So it's really short. It's not far, not very long. So the idea for speaking is practice, speaking on different topics with the clock, 2 minutes at a time, for example. All right. So that's what a test looks like. This is just a practice test. And yeah, if you go to Ielts Help now, that actually has lots of other tests that you can look at. And it's also got speaking examples. So I'm going to show you some speaking examples if I've got time, but I don't think I have because time is running. All right, let me go back to the slides if I can. Just a moment. All right, so now you've seen the practice test. What do you do next? You have to analyze the results. You need to understand the test conditions by doing the practice test timed. Okay, now after you've got your results, analyze the errors and the correct answers. Ask why. Then only study the things that you are lacking. Okay, if you've got low scores in a particular type of question, then practice as much as you can on that type of question. Okay, and I'm talking about perhaps it's matching titles to paragraphs. What's the main idea? Or perhaps it is spelling. Maybe you find it difficult to spell. Well, that's something that you really have to focus on in IELTS. All right. Next, compare and analyze your speaking and writing test results. Okay, sorry. Let me go back. You'll need to try and find a way to analyze your own speaking and writing results. A great thing to do is go onto YouTube and you'll find hundreds of IELTS mock tests where someone talks, when someone actually does an IELTS test, and you can see, okay, this person got a band score 6, and after you finish the test, they will tell you why this person got that score, okay, that band score. And it's very, very important to do that so you can compare yourself to other test takers, and then look at what they did, what was good, what was not so good, and then practice and do the same things. Okay, I'll just give you one example in the chat. I don't think we've time to have a look at it, but there's one. I am not, what do you call it, promoting this particular website. I just think that it's a really good example. You can see the whole test, and then the examiner will give you the feedback, or gives that person the feedback. So it's really, really important to watch as many of those as you can. All right, and there's many, many more things that I will share with you, but I will share them on a document or in this speaking notes later, because we're running out of time. Okay. We've only got 10 minutes left, so I think we have to go to the next section. All right, create a study plan. This is really important. What should you spend most of your time on? These are some of the things that you could spend your time on. Spelling and grammar is a big one in all of them. Skimming, scanning, timing yourself. Make sure you time yourself when you're doing the reading, because it's so important that you can finish it before the time is up. So speaking, talk for 1 minute on various topics, or up to 2 minutes on various topics. This is what I do with my students. All right. Okay, so where can I find resources? IELTS.org, I already gave you that one. IDP, Cambridge Assessment, they've got a myriad of resources. Just go on there and you'll find so many. But I suggest that you also invest in either an IELTS course or some good IELTS books. Now, these ones are great because they show the Cambridge, complete IELTS Cambridge books, because they give you band scores that you can aim for. So if you're already a 4, but you want to get up to a 6, you might want to get this book. Yeah. Or if you're a 6, you want to get up to 7, get this book. So I'm not promoting Cambridge, by the way. This is just because I think they're really good books. The other one that I always use is Focus on IELTS. It's a Longman's book. It's another great resource. So YouTube, Cambridge. I've got lots more in the meeting notes, but I think we're running out of time. Let me just check my meeting notes. Yeah. Another thing that's great is games. So there's so many, if you don't want to be a serious IELTS studier and you just want to take your time, you're grade 10 and you think, oh, I don't want to study full on yet, you can do lots of IELTS games. If you know Bamboozle, Quizlet, Edpuzzle, what's that other one? I forgot it. Booklet, Blookit. All of them have hundreds and hundreds of games. I was planning to play one with you, but I think we've run out of time. So I don't think we can do that. But let me just put this in the... I'm just going to put all these materials in the chat. So it's probably a lot to put in the chat, but I think that...
we can send a list of useful websites.
Okay. So I don't need to put it in the chat now?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. All right. Well, I know that was a lightning introduction to IELTS. I guess one thing that I really want to highlight is that IELTS takes time, and if you don't have time, the best thing is to get to know the test by doing as many practice tests as you can, and look at the mock tests that you can find online or on YouTube. Those would be my best tips. But yeah, take time, get to know what the test is like, and do as many practice tests as you can. All right, I think that's all I'm going to talk about for now. Of course, you're welcome to ask questions, but first we've got a quick video. Hopefully we've got time for that. There we go. All right, Ms. Anis, I think, is going to share a video. We're going to see Hazel and Alan answering some questions about IELTS and their experience with the real test. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so now I'll share the video of the students discussing about their experience on taking IELTS. Okay, here we go.
Today we're going to be talking to two of our students from Kesatuan Bangsa High School, Alan and Hazel. They're grade 12 students and they've actually taken the official IELTS exam. So we're going to talk a little bit about what was the experience like. I'm a teacher, but I've never actually taken the real exam. So maybe Alan and Hazel, would you like to tell us a little bit, when did you do the exam and why did you do the exam?
I forgot the exact date, but I took it in January.
In January,
Yeah.
Okay. And what was the purpose? Why did you decide to take it? I think you've got a little bit of a backstory about taking IELTS TOEFL first. Would you like to tell us about that?
Sure. I took the IELTS test because it was required for my application to some universities in Singapore.
Okay, so you're planning to study in Singapore.
Yeah.
All right.
There are NUS, National University of Singapore, and NTU.
Okay.
Nanyang Technology University.
Okay, and first you decided to take TOEFL, is that right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, you didn't decide, but you were placed in a TOEFL
Yeah.
stream because of those universities. So tell us what happened. Why did you change then, after you did the TOEFL, why did you change to IELTS? And how much preparation did you have?
I switched from TOEFL to IELTS because there were some technical issues during my examination in TOEFL.
Okay.
Because of the technical issues, my scores got delayed, and even up until now, I haven't got my scores yet.
Wow, okay.
So yeah, I just took the IELTS just for, in order to get the scores.
Okay, yeah, so you couldn't get your TOEFL scores in time, so you decided to quickly switch and do the IELTS so that you could get your TOEFL score or your IELTS score in time for the university application.
Yes.
Right? Okay. And so how much time did you have to prepare for IELTS?
It was only 1 week. Because
1 week. Wow. Okay, so maybe you've got some tips to give or tell us a little bit about, in that week, what did you concentrate on studying during that time?
Luckily, because during that time I was confident enough to my English skill, so I just did some practices to familiarize myself with the questions.
Okay, so it was
questions.
so it was more checking out the test, seeing how different it was from TOEFL, and then preparing yourself for those differences.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Thanks, Alan. I'm going to ask you some more questions in a moment. But over to Hazel. So when did you take the test and why?
It was about 3 months ago, and I took it because it's required for the university that I'm applying. It's in Canada and America.
Great. Okay. So and what was your experience of the real test?
At first, I was really nervous because I only got one chance to do the test, but after I take a look at the question, it was actually not that difficult as I imagined it was.
Okay, so have you done any IELTS prep before that?
Yes. It was only about 1 week, but I feel that's enough for me because here in my school, we already use English in our daily
Activities.
activities.
Yeah, yeah. And also, you did take a course with me last year, right?
Yes.
Although I don't know how much I helped with that. But so you thought it was easier than what you expected, yeah? And may I ask, did you get the grade that you wanted, or more?
More.
More, okay. So you got a higher band score. So in IELTS we call it band score rather than a grade. So do you want to share, or do you want to just tell us what was the expected, what were you aiming for, and how much more did you get? If you don't want to mention.
I took a test on an app in Play Store and I test my English test there and I got like 6.5, which is the bare minimum for the university that I want to apply. But after I completed the test, I got 7.5, which really
Wow.
I'm really happy about.
Yeah, it exceeded your expectations, right? Wow. Okay, and so overall, you actually thought the test was easier than you imagined, yeah? So I'm going to ask in a minute, do you have any tips that you can give the people, maybe about relaxing, because you mentioned you were nervous. Alan, what about you? You mentioned also that you did the TOEFL and the IELTS. So comparing the two, which did you think was more difficult?
For me, the TOEFL IBT test is far more difficult.
Really?
Yes,
What
yeah.
makes it more difficult?
It's mainly the listening part.
The listening, yeah? Okay.
Because in the IELTS test, we can listen to the audio while looking at the questions. So we can make a mental preparation for what kind of information we are going to take from the audio. But in the TOEFL test, we can only hear the audio and not. I mean, when the audio is played, I can't look at the question.
Oh, okay.
So I could just make some notes, like maybe some note that I think important for the question.
But you don't know until you see the questions, right? Okay. So that's interesting. And related to your goal for getting a band score to go to university in Singapore, was it high enough, or was it easier, harder than you expected?
As I mentioned, it was much easier than I expected, and luckily I got my score higher than my expectation.
Great. So both of you got higher. Well done. Okay. And I know that you're both headed to go overseas next year to study, hopefully. So I'm glad that you're able to get to your goals and achieve, study abroad. Great job. All right. Well, thank you so much. And maybe after this, we'll get some questions for you from the audience. All right. Thank you so much. And back to the webinar.
Okay, so thanks so much, Alan and Hazel. I think they're here today. I know I saw Alan. Is Hazel here as well? Hazel? Or just Alan? So Alan, thank you for sharing. Is there anything that you, like one tip that you think that you could give the audience that really helped you?
I think one tip that would really help people to prepare themselves for the test is just familiarize yourself with the type of question. Like do many practices. So once the day comes, you will know what kinds of question you will be facing. Because during my first practice, I actually got a terrible score due to some sessions of practicing. My ability to know the question, I mean, to know what kind of question I will be facing, getting better and better as I practice. So yeah, just practice as much as you can.
Great. Thank you. That's a great tip. And that's I totally agree with that. If you're not familiar with what kind of question types they are, you're going to get a huge shock if you just went straight into the official test, right, Alan? You really need to know what kind of questions you're going to be faced with and be ready with strategies to answer them. And once you practice a few times, and also if you've got a good book or you look at some forums or get some more practice materials, you'll be able to improve in quite a short time if you've already got those basic English skills. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, Alan. Is Hazel here or any of the other students that have taken the official test? See here, I can't see. Not sure. Hazel, are you there? Or any of the others, or anyone really? If anyone would like to ask, perhaps we could go to question and answer time if Hazel's not here. And then maybe if anyone would like to share their experience, you're welcome as well. Yeah, we've got a few minutes. Well, we've gone over 5 minutes, but we started quite late. So can we go a few more minutes? Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
Okay, so if
All
you
right.
have
Over
any,
to you, Ms. Sunny.
okay, thank you very much, Ms. Monique and Alan, for sharing the tips and informations about IELTS with us. So we're now in the question and answer session. If you have any questions or anything to share, anything to ask to Ms. Monique or to Alan about IELTS, feel free to drop the question in the chat box. You might want to know more tips or probably some specific technical things on IELTS. You want to know more about some specific skills that you are curious about. Feel free to drop the questions in the chat box.
Okay, if nobody has got any questions, I was going to share a lot more, but the time is so limited and it is a big test. I guess the big thing for you to do is go online, check out what your university, your planned university and country requires. Even if it's in Indonesia, you could check with the university here in Indonesia. If you're going to do the international undergraduate program, check out or just contact the admissions center and find out what the band score is that you require to get into that university or that study. Okay, so once you know your band score, you know your target university, then you can plan your study path. Do I need to be serious and start now, or do I already have good skills? Take that practice test and find out. If you've already got great skills, just have to hone the ones that you maybe didn't get such a good score on. Yeah, it could be writing. If you need practice for speaking, if you're at this school, you know I'm here, so you can come and get a practice test with me. I've got grade 10s and grade 11s asking for practice tests already, so just make a time and we can do a practice test. Okay. If you're in another school, you could ask one of the English teachers there to give you a practice test. I think quite a few teachers have done the test themselves. Or just go online. Okay, how to improve? Okay.
Yeah, we have a question here, Ms. Monique. Thank you very much for the tips. And we have a question here. Do you have a tips on how to improve the vocabulary for writing and speaking, especially synonyms?
Okay, so I think once you've got a practice test, the best thing for synonyms, because often the readings have similar words. You can go online and find the 100 most popular synonyms in IELTS, things like that. You can go on to games like Quizlet, Bamboozle, and they've got lots of study games on synonyms for IELTS. So you can just spend time doing some IELTS games, but the best thing is analyze the reading questions and the listening questions, listening audio. Get the reading, look at the questions, and try and identify where is the answer by looking for the synonyms in the question. So you could maybe have the answer sheet with you, and you might already know, okay, this is the answer. Why is it the answer? There will be a synonym probably there. So match those synonyms, put them in some kind of spreadsheet. Maybe you can make a synonyms related to topic, popular synonyms. Make some spreadsheets and add them every time you're reading and you find new synonyms that you've never seen before. And this goes for idioms as well. They use a lot of idioms or phrases that often go together, like phrasal verbs, quite often. So I would make a list of idioms and synonyms for certain words. One thing that's really great is the Cambridge Online Dictionary. Cambridge Online Dictionary has got a really good synonym section. Yeah, so you can look up synonyms there. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much, Monique. So yeah, we can look it up in the dictionary and see and learn more.
The
about
Cambridge
the
Online one is great.
Yeah, the Cambridge Online one is great. Okay, and we have 2 more questions actually. This is I think we can only take 3 questions, and the second questions would be this one. When I was thinking about the different forms of English proficiency test, I wondered, is taking just one of them enough to get me admitted to study in overseas universities? For example, taking IELTS without TOEFL. So just take one of them, or should he or she take both tests?
Well, if we look at Alan's example, he took the IELTS first because that's what the university required initially, I guess. That's what he was told to study from the admissions. Is that right, Alan?
Yes, miss.
Yeah, and then because actually there was a technical issue and his grades until now have not come out, even though it's been paid and everything, which happens, he was forced to do the IELTS test. And so you can see that that university accepted both. And that's the same with most universities, but not all. So again, that's why at the beginning I said, start with the country that you want to study and look at pick a few universities and check out what kind of requirements they have. Is it IELTS or is it TOEFL? Then why not take practice tests of both? Which one is better for you? If it does, if that university or that country accepts both, why not do a practice test of each and then see which one's better for you? Because like I said before, IELTS is shorter, but you have to write full words and you've got to have good spelling. Yeah. But you get to talk to a native speaker directly. If that freaks you out, maybe you do want to speak to a screen, well then choose TOEFL. So yeah, I think it's up to you to take both tests after you check which ones do your chosen universities accept. And then why not take both? Just taking the tests will improve your English. So it'll improve your academic skills just by taking those tests. So it's a great way to improve your academic skills in English. Okay, hopefully that answers your question, Nathan.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Monique, for your answers. And we also have one last question. I think this is also very important. Oh yeah, so it depends then, yeah. So it depends on the university, the requirement of the university. If the university requires you to take TOEFL, you can take TOEFL. If the university requires you to take IELTS, you can take only IELTS. But if you want to improve your proficiency, and also if you want to, practice your English as well, you could take both. It doesn't matter if you can take both or take one of them. I think, yeah, Ms. Monique, as long as it fits with the university requirement.
That's number one, is check what the university requires. If they have both as a requirement, look at what grade it is that you need to get, whether it be IABT or Ielts. You can find comparisons everywhere. So if you take one, then usually it's got a comparative and you can see, my score is roughly this. If you take that, British Council app test, then that will tell you what your IELTS rough score is. I think Hazel said that his rough score from that app was 6.5, but then when he did the real test, he got 7, I think, or 7.5. So it's just a basic part of your score. Yeah, so it depends on your university that you're aiming for. Find out if they have both, you're allowed to take both. You choose which one's better for you.
Yes, that's right. Choose the ones that's better for you. Is it IELTS or TOEFL? Okay, thank you, Miss. And one last question. I think this is a very important question. How do we elaborate more in the writing report part? Because we can throw out our personal opinions.
Yes, and I think this is actually, again, practice. Usually when we're asked to do an essay, ask us for our opinion or to discuss something and then give our opinion at the end, if it's argument-led. So how do you get rid of your opinion? Well, the best thing is to look at what jumps out at you. If you look at, say, 2 graphs with different information on a different year, for example, which parts of the graph are quite extreme and which are not extreme? Then choose several points to describe overall and then several points within each graph and then compare them. So it's more looking at it analytically, scientifically, and keep your opinions to yourself. Don't use don't use knowledge that you already have about that. Don't make conclusions based on what you know of the situation, because often it's talking about something that you know something about, but do not give your opinion. That's number one, okay? So just describe. Look at the physical look at it. If it's a graph, you can see if there's like fluctuations. You can see if there's a big peak and then a drop. And then if there's another graph that goes the opposite way, those things you can compare and talk about. Don't mention every single point in the graph because you'll run out of words and you'll run out of time. So give an overall description, an introduction. What are the graphs talking about? And then what are the points, the main points that that jump out at you? Just looking at it visually, but also you can look at the points, what's important. All right. So yeah, that's how you stick to not using your opinion. Just look at it analytically and describe what you see. Okay. And be careful of the tenses as well. If it's a graph, it may be talking about something that happened in the past until now. So you may have to use some past tense, some future, present perfect. If it's a chart, generally it's descriptive. So the chart shows that in 2020, there were this many cases, and now there are this many cases of COVID. We can see that there's been a drop into cases. Yeah, you're talking present simple usually. Okay.
Okay, so thank you very much. So the key points is analyze, describe, and use present simple. Do not use your personal opinion, even though you know the topic so well.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So thank you very much, Ms. Monique, for your insightful presentations and explanations, and also thank you very much, Alan, for sharing your tips and sharing your experiences. Actually, before we end today's session, we have a questions from. And these questions have prizes. This is from Eduversal with 50,000 rupiah prize. So there are 2 questions. Again, it's a waterfall game again. So I'll give you questions, prepare your answer. And once I say waterfall, please drop your answers in the chat box. The fastest, the quickest, and the correct answer will win 50,000 rupiah voucher from Eduversal. So are you ready? This is related to today's topic. So the first question is, this is very easy. What are the skills tested in IELTS? What are the skills tested in IELTS? Get ready in 3, 2, 1, waterfall. All right. Wow, seems like we have very excellent listeners here and also very insightful about IELTS. And the winner is, congratulations for Ilham Alfarisi for giving correct answers, reading, listening, writing, speaking. Ilham Alfarisi, please write down your full name and also your school so we know who to contact to. And you can send me the private message, your full name and your school. Thank you very much. And the next questions, that's right, it's a listening, writing, reading, listening, reading, writing, speaking. And the last questions, another 50K voucher. What is Alan's tips on IELTS preparations? What is his tips that he shared with us live today on IELTS preparation? In 3, sorry, I haven't said waterfall, so you cannot give me the answer yet. So 3, 2, 1, hang on a second, sorry. Waterfall. Okay, seems like everyone is so enthusiastic in giving the answers or getting the prizes. Okay, so congratulations for Akmal Lukis for giving the correct answer. Practice a lot. Yes, he. Oh, sorry. So it's not Akmal Lukis. Sorry, Akmal Lukis. I guess you answered it before I said waterfall. So the winner goes to Kalyaniza from Tennessee. Please send me your full name and also your school. Yes, that's right. So thank you very much. Congratulations for the 2 winners. Sorry, I forgot the name already, but I'll check the chat box later. The 2 winners, thank you very much. Congratulations for winning 50K from Eduversal. Please wait for the answer. Yes, it's like a flash flood. Everyone's answering very quickly. But we got the winners already. And this is the end of our today's session. Thank you very much for Miss Monique for sharing with us, and also Alan also for sharing with us. And thank you very much for everyone here and for Eduversal as well for attending this webinar. I hope that we can see you again. Hope that whatever that you learned today are useful for you to prepare for your IELTS. And if you're taking IELTS anytime soon, good luck. I hope that you get the score that you aim to get. Thank you very much, and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, and see you.